What if everything you thought you knew about Solo Sikoa's rise to power was built on a foundation of lies and manipulation? What if the man who calls himself the new tribal chief, the wrestler who shocked the world by dethroning Jacob Fatu at Night of Champions, is hiding a secret so explosive it could completely shatter everything we understand about the WWE Universe? Tonight, we're not just scratching the surface. We're diving deep into the shadowy underbelly of Friday Night SmackDown, where betrayal runs deeper than blood, where ambition has corrupted family bonds, and where a mysterious new faction called My Family Tree is systematically rewriting the entire Anoa'i family legacy. But here's what nobody else is talking about. The clues have been hiding in plain sight, and WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi just dropped the biggest hint yet about what's really happening behind the scenes. This isn't just another wrestling storyline. This is a conspiracy that reaches into the very heart of WWE's most powerful dynasty, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why Solo Sikoa's transformation isn't just shocking, it's terrifying. Buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal will change how you see every SmackDown episode moving forward. This is the untold story of Solo Sikoa's shocking transformation, and I guarantee you haven't heard this angle anywhere else. Solo Sikoa, the street champion, the self-proclaimed tribal chief, and now the WWE United States champion, has taken the wrestling world by storm. But here's what's keeping me up at night. Nothing about his recent actions makes sense when you look at the bigger picture. Why would a man who spent 2 years building the Bloodline suddenly abandon everything his family stands for? Who are these mysterious new members of his faction MFT? And why do they seem to know things about the Anoa'i family that even longtime fans don't understand? Most importantly, what does WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi, Solo's own father, know that he's not telling us directly? Because when I analyzed his recent podcast comments, I discovered something that changes everything. Rikishi isn't just giving fatherly advice. He's dropping breadcrumbs that lead to a conspiracy so deep, it involves people we haven't even suspected yet. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through 5 major revelations that will completely change how you see Solo Sikoa's rise to power. We'll start with the night that changed everything, work our way through the hidden connections that nobody else has noticed, and end with a prediction that's going to blow your mind. But first, let me show you exactly how we got here. June 28th, 2025, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Night of Champions. On the surface, this looked like a straightforward championship match between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu for the United States Championship. But when you analyze what actually happened that night, frame by frame, you'll discover that this wasn't just a wrestling match. This was a carefully orchestrated coup that had been planned for months. Here's what everyone saw. Solo Sikoa defeating Jacob Fatu with help from Tanga Loa, the debuting Tama Tonga, and the enigmatic JC Mateo. A dirty win, sure, but nothing unusual for WWE. But here's what nobody else noticed. The timing of each interference was too perfect, too coordinated. These weren't desperate moves by a struggling wrestler. These were military precision strikes executed by people who knew exactly when and how to act. Let me break down the evidence that proves this was a setup from the beginning. First, Tanga Loa's return wasn't announced until the day of the event. In WWE, surprise returns are usually kept secret from everyone except the highest levels of management. So who had the power to bring Tanga Loa back without any media leaks? Second, Tama Tonga's debut was seamless. He knew exactly where the cameras were, exactly how to position himself for maximum impact. That level of coordination doesn't happen by accident. But here's the smoking gun that nobody else has talked about, JC Mateo. This relatively unknown wrestler was suddenly thrust into one of WWE's biggest storylines with zero build-up, zero explanation, and zero resistance from WWE management. In an industry where every storyline is planned months in advance, how does a virtual unknown suddenly become a key player in the Anoa'i family drama? The answer lies in the connections that WWE doesn't want you to see. JC Mateo isn't just some random recruit. He has ties to people within WWE's power structure that go back years. When I researched his background, I discovered training connections, family relationships, and business partnerships that create a web of influence reaching into WWE's executive offices. And then there's the Jacob Fatu factor. Fatu wasn't just defeated that night, he was systematically dismantled by people who knew his weaknesses, his fighting style, his psychological triggers. The way Tama Tonga targeted Fatu's left knee wasn't random. That's been Fatu's weak point since his independent wrestling days. The way JC Mateo distracted the referee at exactly the right moments wasn't luck, it was intelligence. This brings us to the most disturbing possibility. Jacob Fatu might have been set up by his own family. Think about it, who else would know his weaknesses well enough to exploit them so effectively? Who else would have the access and influence to coordinate such a complex operation? The evidence suggests that Night of Champions wasn't just Solo Sikoa's victory, it was the execution of a plan that had been in motion since Roman Reigns lost the title at WrestleMania XL. But the conspiracy goes even deeper than that, and it involves someone we haven't even suspected yet. When Solo Sikoa announced the death of the Bloodline and the birth of MFT, My Family Tree, on July 4th, 2025, most fans assumed it was just a rebranding. A new name for the same old faction. But when you dig into the symbolism, the timing, and the hidden meanings behind this transformation, you'll discover that MFT isn't just different from the Bloodline, it's the complete opposite of everything the Anoa'i family has stood for. The Bloodline was built on the concept of family loyalty, of blood being thicker than water, of the Anoa'i dynasty's unbreakable bonds. But MFT, My Family Tree, represents something far more sinister. It's not about honoring family heritage, it's about controlling and manipulating family connections for personal gain. The word "my" isn't just possessive, it's territorial, claiming ownership over relationships that should be sacred. Here's where it gets really disturbing. The members of MFT aren't just random wrestlers Solo recruited. Each one represents a specific branch of Polynesian wrestling royalty that Solo is trying to control. Tangaloa and Tama Tonga come from the legendary Haku lineage. Their father is one of the most respected figures in wrestling history. By bringing them into MFT, Solo isn't just gaining allies, he's claiming dominion over an entire wrestling dynasty. JC Mateo's inclusion is even more strategic. While he doesn't have the obvious family connections, his recruitment sends a message to every Polynesian wrestler in the industry: loyalty to Solo Sikoa is more important than blood relationships. It's a psychological warfare tactic designed to fracture the traditional family structures that have defined Polynesian wrestling for generations. But here's the detail that proves this goes beyond simple faction warfare: the timing of the MFT announcement. July 4th, Independence Day. Solo didn't choose this date randomly. He was making a statement about independence from family expectations, from traditional hierarchies, from the very concept of respecting your elders. It was a declaration of war against the Anoa'i family's established order. The symbolism gets even darker when you consider what happened to Jacob Fatu after the announcement. The triple powerbomb through the table wasn't just violence, it was a ritual. In Polynesian culture, breaking someone through it has spiritual significance, representing the severing of connections to ancestors and traditions. Solo wasn't just attacking Jacob, he was symbolically cutting him off from the family tree. And then there's the most chilling aspect of all, Rikishi's reaction. Instead of condemning his son's actions, instead of defending the family traditions that made the Anoa'i dynasty legendary, Rikishi publicly supported Solo's new direction. Why would a WWE Hall of Famer, a man who built his career on family loyalty, suddenly endorse his son's rebellion against everything they've stood for? The answer lies in a secret that Rikishi has been keeping for months, a secret that explains not just why he supports MFT, but why he might have been involved in planning it from the very beginning. Because what if I told you that Rikishi's recent podcast comments weren't just fatherly advice but coded messages to people within WWE who are helping Solo execute this plan? Rikishi's recent podcast comments have been dismissed by most wrestling analysts as simple fatherly advice, but when you analyze his exact words, his timing, and his history of strategic thinking, you'll discover that WWE's Hall of Famer isn't just supporting his son, he's orchestrating one of the most sophisticated long-term plans in wrestling history. I would love to see Solo and his crew just go up against somebody besides the Bloodline. This way, it kind of just adds something fresh to it, and to see how these boys will be able to work with other people besides family members. On the surface, this sounds like a father wanting his son to expand his horizons. But Rikishi is a master of wrestling psychology, a man who spent decades navigating WWE's political landscape. Every word he speaks publicly is calculated. Here's what Rikishi is really saying. He wants Solo to prove himself outside the Anoa'i family structure because he knows something the rest of us don't. The traditional family-based factions are becoming obsolete in modern WWE. The company is moving toward more diverse, internationally focused storylines, and Rikishi is positioning Solo to be ahead of that curve. But there's a deeper layer to this strategy that reveals Rikishi's true genius. By encouraging Solo to feud with non-family members, Rikishi is protecting the Anoa'i family's long-term interests. Think about it, every time family members fight each other on screen, it damages the real-world relationships that keep the dynasty strong. Roman Reigns versus the Usos, Solo versus Jacob Fatu, Jimmy versus Jay. These storylines create real tension that extends beyond the ring. Rikishi learned this lesson the hard way during his own career. His on-screen conflicts with other family members created lasting damage to relationships that took years to repair. He's not going to let Solo make the same mistakes. By pushing MFT toward external conflicts, Rikishi is preserving family unity while allowing Solo to build his own legacy. But here's where the conspiracy gets really deep. Rikishi's connections within WWE go far beyond what most fans realize. He's not just Solo's father, he's a trusted advisor to WWE management, a man whose opinion carries weight in creative decisions. When Rikishi speaks publicly about wanting Solo to face non-family opponents, he's not just making a suggestion, he's revealing WWE's actual plans for the character. The evidence for this lies in the timing of recent storyline developments. Within weeks of Rikishi's podcast comments, WWE began positioning Solo for feuds with non-Anoa'i wrestlers. The company started building storylines that would take MFT in exactly the direction Rikishi suggested. That's not coincidence, that's coordination. And then there's the most shocking possibility of all. What if Rikishi has been planning Solo's rise to power since Roman Reigns lost the title at WrestleMania XL? What if the entire MFT storyline, from Jacob Fatu's recruitment to his eventual betrayal, was orchestrated by Rikishi as a way to position Solo as the next generation's leader of the Anoa'i dynasty? The clues are all there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to connect the dots. And when you do, you'll realize that Rikishi isn't just Solo's father. He might be the mastermind behind the entire conspiracy. Jacob Fatu's betrayal of Solo Sikoa at Money in the Bank wasn't just a heel turn, it was the inevitable result of a psychological warfare campaign that had been targeting Fatu for months. When you analyze the events leading up to that shocking moment, you'll discover that Jacob Fatu didn't just decide to turn on Solo. He was systematically manipulated, isolated, and driven to the breaking point by people who understood exactly how to exploit his deepest insecurities. The manipulation began subtly, right after WrestleMania 41 when Jacob Fatu defeated LA Knight to win the United States Championship. Instead of celebrating his cousin's victory, Solo's reaction was telling: visible tension, forced smiles, and comments about making Jacob Fatu that revealed his true feelings. But here's what nobody else noticed. Solo's behavior wasn't just jealousy. It was a calculated strategy to undermine Fatu's confidence and position within the faction. Every week on SmackDown, Solo would make small comments that seemed supportive on the surface but were actually designed to diminish Jacob's accomplishments. "I'm proud of what we achieved together. The Bloodline's success is because of our unity. Jacob knows he couldn't have done this without the family. These weren't celebrations of Jacob's victory, they were attempts to rewrite history, to make Jacob's individual success seem like a team effort. The psychological pressure intensified when Solo began excluding Jacob from key decisions. Faction meetings would happen without him. Strategic planning sessions would occur when Jacob wasn't around. Solo was systematically isolating the Samoan werewolf, making him feel like an outsider in his own group. This is a classic manipulation tactic. Make someone feel insecure about their position, then offer them validation only when they comply with your demands. But here's the most disturbing part. Jacob Fatu's explosion at Money in the Bank, screaming "I hate you, Solo," wasn't just an emotional outburst. It was the result of months of gaslighting, manipulation, and psychological abuse. Solo had pushed Jacob to the breaking point deliberately, knowing that the eventual betrayal would give him the justification he needed to remove Jacob from the equation entirely. The evidence for this lies in Solo's reaction to Jacob's betrayal. Instead of seeming surprised or hurt, Solo appeared almost relieved. He had been waiting for this moment, planning for it, orchestrating it. The betrayal gave Solo the excuse he needed to bring in his real allies, Tangaloa, Tama Tonga, and JC Mateo, without seeming like he was abandoning family. And then there's the timing of Jacob's championship reign. Fatu held the United States Championship for exactly 2 months, just long enough to elevate the title's prestige before Solo took it from him. That's not coincidence, that's planning. Jacob Fatu was never meant to be a long-term champion. He was meant to be a transitional title holder who would make Solo's eventual victory more meaningful. The most chilling aspect of this entire situation is that Jacob Fatu probably still doesn't realize he was being manipulated. He thinks his betrayal was his own decision, his own moment of rebellion. But the truth is, every step of his journey from loyal cousin to bitter enemy was choreographed by people who understood exactly how to push his buttons. Everything we've uncovered so far, the Night of Champions setup, the MFT symbolism, Rikishi's hidden agenda, and Jacob Fatu's manipulation, has been building towards something much bigger than a simple wrestling storyline. The evidence suggests that Solo Sikoa's rise to power is just the first phase of a multi-year plan that will fundamentally reshape not just the Anoa'i family's role in WWE, but the entire landscape of professional wrestling. Here's what I believe is really happening. WWE is preparing for a generational shift that will see the traditional family-based factions replaced by international coalitions that reflect the company's global expansion strategy. Solo Sikoa's MFT isn't just a wrestling faction, it's a prototype for WWE's future, and the people behind this transformation have been planning it for years. The clues are hidden in WWE's recent business decisions. The company's expansion into international markets, their partnerships with wrestling promotions in Japan and Mexico, their increased focus on diverse storylines, all of this points to a fundamental change in how WWE approaches faction warfare. The old model of family dynasties like the Anoa'i Bloodline is being replaced by strategic alliances that cross cultural and national boundaries. MFT represents this new model perfectly. You have Solo Sikoa, Samoan American, Tangaloa and Tama Tonga, Tongan American, and JC Mateo, representing the next generation of diverse talent. This isn't just diversity for diversity's sake. It's a strategic positioning for WWE's global audience. When MFT eventually faces international opponents, they'll represent a united Pacific Islander coalition that can appeal to wrestling fans across multiple continents. But here's where the conspiracy gets really deep. The timing of this transformation coincides perfectly with several major WWE contracts coming up for renewal. Roman Reigns, the Usos, and other established Anoa'i family members have deals that expire within the next 2 years. What if WWE is preparing for a scenario where some of these major stars don't re-sign? What if MFT is being positioned as the replacement for the traditional Bloodline because WWE knows changes are coming? The evidence for this lies in how WWE has been booking Solo compared to other family members. While Roman Reigns has been on extended breaks and the Usos have been involved in mid-card storylines, Solo has been consistently featured in main event programs. He's being positioned as the future of the Anoa'i representation in WWE, regardless of what happens with other family members. And then there's the most shocking possibility of all. What if this entire storyline is being orchestrated by someone outside the Anoa'i family entirely? What if a major WWE executive or even a competing wrestling promotion is pulling the strings, using Solo's ambition to fracture the most powerful dynasty in wrestling history? The timing of recent developments suggests coordination at the highest levels. Solo's push coincided with Roman's hiatus. Jacob's recruitment and subsequent betrayal happened exactly when it would cause maximum drama, and MFT's formation occurred just as WWE was announcing new international partnerships. These aren't coincidences, they're the result of long-term strategic planning. Here's my prediction for what's coming next. Within the next 6 months, we'll see MFT face a major international faction, possibly involving wrestlers from WWE's Japanese or Mexican partnerships. This feud will establish Solo as a global star while testing whether the MFT concept can work on the biggest stage. If it succeeds, expect to see more traditional family factions broken up and replaced by strategic international alliances. The Anoa'i dynasty as we know it is ending, and Solo Sikoa isn't just participating in that ending, he's orchestrating it. So there you have it. 5 explosive revelations that completely reframe Solo Sikoa's rise to power. This isn't just a wrestling storyline, it's a carefully orchestrated transformation of one of WWE's most powerful dynasties, and the implications reach far beyond Friday Night SmackDown. We've uncovered evidence of conspiracy at Night of Champions, decoded the sinister symbolism behind MFT, exposed Rikishi's hidden agenda, revealed the psychological manipulation of Jacob Fatu, and predicted a future that will reshape professional wrestling forever. But here's what keeps me up at night. We've only scratched the surface. The mastermind behind this conspiracy is still out there, pulling strings from the shadows. The true purpose of MFT hasn't been fully revealed. And the ultimate fate of the Anoa'i family dynasty hangs in the balance. Will Jimmy USO be able to stop his brother at Saturday night's main event, or will Solo's new faction prove unstoppable? Will Jacob Fatu find a way to reclaim his position, or has he been permanently exiled from the family tree? Most importantly, what happens when Roman Reigns eventually returns? Will he accept Solo's new vision for the family, or will we see the ultimate battle for the soul of the Anoa'i dynasty? The answers to these questions will determine not just the future of Solo Sikoa and MFT, but the entire landscape of WWE for years to come. And I'll be here to uncover every twist, decode every hidden message, and reveal every conspiracy as this story continues to unfold. If this investigation opened your eyes to the deeper conspiracy behind Solo Sikoa's transformation, smash that like button and share this video with every wrestling fan who needs to know the truth. Drop a comment below and tell me, who do you think is the real mastermind behind MFT? Is it Rikishi playing 4D chess with his son's career? Is it a WWE executive positioning for the future? Or is there someone else entirely pulling the strings from the shadows? And what's your prediction for Saturday night's main event? Can Jimmy USO overcome the conspiracy, or will Solo's plan prove unstoppable? Your theories and insights help shape our investigations, so don't hold back. The wrestling community is strongest when we work together to uncover the truth. Until next time, keep your eyes on the ring and your mind open to the possibilities, because in the world of professional wrestling, nothing is ever what it seems.